This is Fountain
Every
Street
week I find
Church.
it hard to find the best ones, but somehow, like I said, you'll hear what I'm trying to say even when the words
Here,
aren't right.
we strive to free the mind, grow the soul, and change the world. Here, there is freedom to doubt and freedom to believe. Here, you can find a house of prayer for all people.
The swallow up Jonah.
Welcome to Fountain Street Church. Join us on the journey.
Sanctuary.
You guys are cool. Excellent. This is what you've been doing when you're not been at the gym, right? All right. Then you're okay with me.
This is my life.
No, it's more than that. So, those who may not know, once a year, I invite people to give me questions. As I was telling the early worship folks, sermons come from the weirdest places, but they rarely actually come from you. And at least once a year, it makes sense for me to say, so what's on your mind? What bothers you? What interests you? And I got 9 really cool questions. And I'm going to try to at least address them. Address does not mean answer. I'm going to respond. But you can't answer the really important questions. I'll use first names because I want to credit those who came out, but I don't want to then, shall we say, and so said. You might be able to understand a few of them. None of them are embarrassing. For example, Monica asks, how do you see the human race evolving spiritually? And is it possible to reach one understanding while still keeping the richness of cultural and religious and, I suppose, other diversity? Here's what I thought about. We like the word evolution a lot. That's why Mr. Darwin is in our window. But it's a fancy word that means only one thing, change. But we tend to think that evolution means you're getting better, you're rising, you're improving. And I'd like to say that I do think humans do evolve, that is to say, change. It is one of the great gifts we have. There are very few creatures on the planet that have adapted to so many different environments as human beings. I mean, some animals live only in certain environments, but you can find human beings from the Arctic into the deserts, all the way into jungles and into any place on earth, virtually. But our gift for change does not mean that we're always getting better every time we do it. So I want to start with that evolving doesn't mean getting better. It just means changing. And I'll go to spirituality, which to me means our capacity for consciously finding meaning and purpose in life. In other words, it's not what you do or exactly what you think, but our desire to have a world that is filled with meaning and purpose. The rich variety of myths and gods and philosophies that are all over our history and our globe are testimony to our gift for adapting and coming up with different ways of seeing the universe. And like our physical adaptations, some are better and some may not be as good. Now, among the stories I have heard that have stuck with me is the one out of the book of Genesis about the Tower of Babel. I'm hoping some of you know this story, but at Fountain Street Church, this is never a sure assumption. In case you don't know, King Nimrod ordered all the people of the planet who were living in one place to build a tower to reach heaven where they could go where they could see God. And God decided to foil their attempt by making the people speak in different languages so they could not communicate as one species but had to break up into groups. It's what we call in seminary an etiological myth. It explains why there are different languages. Whether it happened or not is immaterial. It's a way to understand our diversity of languages. This story, I think, illustrates our spiritual condition, though. Our capacities to invent and adapt both enrich us and divide us. Had we all one language or religion, we might be all one people, but I think we would also be less different, less interesting, less diverse, and therefore poorer and narrower. The cacophony of languages, though, makes sure that we will always have conflict and division. So no, it is not possible to reach one understanding of reality, not one understanding of spirituality, any more than we can reach one language. But we can, and I emphasize the word can, be more alert to our differences. Presume not God to scan, said Alexander Pope. The proper study of mankind is man. Sometimes I think we want spirituality to mean how we can overcome our limitations. For me, being fully spiritual means being completely human. Drew asks, is it too bold a statement to say that power is only as strong as the weak channels it inhabits? It's also occurred to me that all energy seeks weak conductors where the host is open and willing to receive it. I'm thinking Drew is not talking about electricity, but talking about the capacity of strong people to dominate less determined people. And that's why I'm not sure I share his assumption. I don't draw the same equal lines between electricity and water and human spirit. I don't think they really line up that way. Equating physical energy with human energy is, I think, a risky analogy. One could argue, for example, that human beings are naturally inefficient conductors of anything. We make a mess wherever we go. We leave gigantic amounts of waste behind, and we do so for good reason. We want our buildings to be beautiful, not just functional, our clothes to be presentable, not just helpful, and our food to be delectable, not just nourishing. So we waste things in order to please ourselves. Would any of us want to change that? No, we're an inefficient species, but we need beauty, pleasure, and imagination to be human. So maybe it isn't a waste after all, but this means maybe we are not a very efficient carrier of energy. It appears, though, that human history does show a readiness for groups of people to acquiesce to tyranny and power. One need only read the 20th century in cursory fashion to see how that happened. And it does mean, perhaps, that people in crowds can be gullible and easily persuaded of very bad things. But I don't think this is because crowds are weak and individuals are strong. I believe most people are hungry for that sense of spirituality, for purpose and meaning. And we become hungry for them when the usual forms no longer work for us, and so we feel lost and hungry. Remember when you felt lost? Have you ever been lost? Were you not willing to follow anyone that looked like she was going in some direction? Have you remember being hungry? Would you not eat whatever you were offered and not wait for the best meal? We all take bad directions over no directions. We will all eat unsavory food when there is no other food available. And that's what the tyrants take advantage of, our hunger and our lostness. And they offer not what we need, but what they want us to have. Spiritually and humanly, it is not power that seeks weakness, but weakness that seeks power.